Hi, everyone. We are live a little bit later than expected, but based on a few things, we're here now. And I'll tell you what, amazing. Rishabh Pant, a century. It's amazing. It's a fourth test of a series, isn't it? Happened in Australia somewhat, and it's kind of happening again. Don't you think, Chris?
What is?
Well, I think the punt, in a moment where you would argue that England were on top at 4 for 80, they had a chance of knocking off India for a total below the 205. They have now been able to muster a total due to Pant, who came in at that stage when he scored 100 and batted quite fantastically on a pitch that, even though it was a lot more batter friendly, you would never have expected that score.
I think he batted well. It's clear that he's a big game player. He's a much better player when he goes in and applies himself. You know, the first couple of tests, I've seen him bat a few times, and he just comes in and slogs from ball one. And he's a much better player when he applies himself like he did today. I think the pitch is a good test wicket, isn't it? I think if you apply yourself and you grind it out, then even this morning, we were all predicting. I was probably low end. I was predicting 350. Smokey sort of said 500-600. You were certainly in the high 300-400. So England were brilliant. And in the context of the game, it's India's day. But if you take the day just on the day itself, England have had a pretty good day there. 276 or 7, I think. England would have to say they haven't had a bad day. They're probably a bowler light. And Rishabh Pant has dug his team out of a hole.
That's probably more what I'm talking about. It could well end up being a match-one performance.
Absolutely. There's no doubt that England will probably have to try and get 250 and try and defend 150. I don't see us being better than that. But no, India have got a lot of questions to answer with their top six, because take Pant and Sharma out of the series, they've been pretty poor as well. So, but no, it was a brilliant knock. Fair play.
Well, then even more so, we are forgetting Washington Sunders. He's on 60 now. The reality is, he again is someone who, he's done that yet again in the fourth test in Australia. He and Thakur came together and did something quite substantial.
He's a weird one, isn't it? Because there's every chance he might not ever play a test match again.
Well, that's true. If Ashwin and Jadeja are in form,
Ashwin, Jadeja, and Axar plus Kuldeep, you've got, you've got Axar and Jadeja and Ashwin are probably going to be the three spinners for the next 3 or 4 years, and then all of a sudden, Washington might have to wait a long time for his next go. But no, he played perfect foil, didn't he? The pitch, it looked like it just got a little bit easier as the ball got a little bit softer, and England, the effort they put in the morning and the afternoon session just tired them out. Stokes was just flat on his feet, wasn't he? Anderson had bowled well.
Oh, look, there's so many great stories here. I mean, for God's sake, Anderson and the likes of Ben Stokes. Ben Stokes is incredible. He really is. The fact that he took, those early wickets, or relatively early wickets, important ones, in the likes of Sharma, of course, and that was a sensational bowler. It came in quite a considerable amount on a man who's on 49. That was brilliant. And he's on his last legs. He's constantly getting, is it hydrolytes or electrolytes, whatever he's getting into his body. I saw throughout that last part of the innings. It's quite incredible. And just to explain why I was like, I have a mother who's close to 90, and it's a long story, but there was a reason I had to quickly do something, which timing-wise, I mean, so many days in a row, things can go wrong, I guess. Can't believe it. If I'm not doing this, it's the unfortunate time, but we worked it out in the end. Okay, we are missing a few people, but that's all right. Unfortunately, Simon Willis couldn't make it due to a commitment that came up in front of him. A lot of people are involved with or Monty, for example, who was involved with the road safety World Series. I don't like the word World Series, but they're calling it World Series. In fact, it's called the I keep forgetting the name of this. It's got the most unacademy road safety World Series in Rycourt, which is, again, Unacademy is actually a online academy regarding education, which is an amazing thing itself. I guess what unacademy means is not a physical academy; it's more online. But the reality is, it's a very worthy cause, and you've got Monty there. You've got not no other bloke, Pragya Orja, who I've tried to get on the show as well as there. They've got a number of Bangladesh is quite thin on deck, but they've got a team. South Africa's, I think, Jonty Rhodes is actually playing that one, which is I'm sure he's still fit enough. And Sri Lanka's got Jai Surya playing, and
Fantastic.
but yeah, and England of course have got Kevin Peterson. They've got Ryan Seibel, Monty Panesar, Matthew Hogarth, which we quite, as we worked out this morning, Adam Holloway was snubbed.
Well, as we said, as we wound Smokey up this morning, it's a Legends tournament.
He's not a legend here. I'm sure he's listening to this. In fact, we are missing a few troops. I mean, I know I was going to get the lovely lady we had this morning, Gargi, back on, but she has got a training commitment, which is an online training commitment, which is unusual. And I know they're both. In fact, as we speak, Aparna Saini is doing a criminal law exam, so I couldn't have her come. The reality is, Pretty's been on about 1 million in a row. So, like you are, Chris, you're the only one that has not missed one. So, there's a few reasons, but that's good. We're back to almost a borderline, or this is the borderline, is an Aussie and a Pom here in a way as well.
Back to basics. Get back to the original. Back to the daring duo. Yeah.
Core. So, look, the state of play, to me, it's obviously still in India's favour. But again, it went against what we expected. We were sitting here this morning talking about 350. You even said 370. Ridiculous scorelines that we expected it to be. The reality is, although India certainly have recovered, was it 7 for 294? To me, it can be a lot more than that. But I look at this batting lineup and Virat Kohli, what do you think? Is there something we're not seeing there? He got out for got a very good ball, a great Ben Stokes delivery.
They showed the averages for the series, and Pant and Sharma average over 50, and I think the next best Indian top order batsman, or the next best average in the series, is Ashwin for India. I don't think any of the other top six average over 27 in the series. So, Sharma in the second test, and Pant today, and in the first couple of tests have sort of papered over the cracks really in that Indian top order. There's Pujara's gone 28 innings without 100. Kohli's now 36 innings without 100 in international cricket. For guys of that sort of caliber, that's a long time. If you take Rahane's brilliant 100 out at Melbourne, there's guys there that haven't been scoring runs, and there's things to answer. You've got KL Rahul, you've probably got Shikhar Dhawan, you've got Agarwal, Hardik Pandya is going to be looking to come back into that side, and they need to work out the form quickly because but these are conditions that the Indian batsmen would back themselves to score big in. And the one thing that they won't want to do is come to England for a test series out of form or lacking a bit of confidence, which batters go through when you're not scoring runs. Pujara and Pujara seems to have a bit of a thing with Leach at the moment. He's got him out 5 times in the series. They said in the rest of his career, Pujara's faced 1,188 balls against left arm spin, and he's got out 4 times in his career, and Leach has got him out 5 times in 3.5 tests. So there's some things to answer. I imagine that Pujara will probably leave the IPL early and might come and play some county cricket here, which would be a very clever idea.
Yeah.
I'd love to see someone like Virat Kohli do it. Unfortunately, with the IPL, he's never going to do it. But it's going to be a different kettle of fish to come over here and to play our seam bowling in these conditions. It's going to be tough, and you need to be at the top of your game if you want to win test matches here against that attack. So they've got plenty to answer for. India have relied on 4 guys this series, as far as I'm concerned. Pant, Sharma, Aksar, and Ashwin. That they've been the 4 differences they've been the 4 players that have been the differences in the side, and take those 4 out.
You have to put Washington Sundar into that as well. Slade's performance is pretty good.
Yeah, he's good. I mean, he's got a couple of 50s, but in terms of match winning performances, Sundar isn't there. He's had a couple of good knocks, but today was a brilliant knock. I'm not taking it away from him, but in terms of players that are defining a series, it's not been a complete all-round team performance from India by any stretch. But they're going to win the series, and brilliant. They've played very well, and they deserve it.
Rishabh Pant's 100 today.
Yeah.
It did remind me of the fourth test in Australia. Not I hadn't won a match yet, but it was defining in terms of the importance of that. Because at 4 for 8, I keep saying that 4 for 80, India could easily have been out for 150 or thereabouts. They were heading in that direction. But Punt led the way, and his devil may care approach, he hit magnificent fours when Anderson got a new ball in his hands. That was quite incredible. And he took him on. First ball of his second new ball, he hit him over the top of mid-off for 4 in a manner which was very thumping. And it was daring, but that was actually a particularly good shot. The other couple of shots were slightly more risque, but in general he did very well. And he was disappointed when he got out for 101, which is a great sign that he was disappointed at 100 getting out, because he wanted to score a lot more, and I think that was pretty impressive. James Anderson, 3 wickets.
The guy's just immense, isn't he? The guy's just awesome. And Ben Stokes, I said before the test, I predicted that Ben Stokes would have a good match, and got a pretty good 50 in the first test, and completely and utterly emptied the tank today. I mean, we would just probably seem alike. If you have a Broad in there or Mark Wood, I think that's a different. I think they would have made the difference, because it takes the pressure off those guys. Something a bit different. Jimmy Anderson's just a master, isn't he? He's just brilliant, and he's only getting better, and that's going to be a worry for the Indians in mind with the series over here. He's going to have home conditions with the ball that he loves bowling with, the Duke's ball, against the batting lineup that is potentially a little bit short of confidence, and you're going to chuck Stuart Broad at the other end, and then maybe Chris Wokes and or Jofra Archer as well as Ben Stokes. It's going to be pretty relentless. So it's going to be a good series. But he's just brilliant, isn't he? He doesn't seem to be getting any worse. He's 38 and he looks 25 and just.
Well, it's actually quite scary. Actually, it's quite scary because he just seems to be getting in a way better. Almost Dennis Lilly like, although he's not slowing down necessarily. Dennis Lilly mastered the line length towards the end of his career beautifully, and hence at that stage he was the leading wicket taker. One disappointment though with the English bowling lineup has to be Don Bess.
No, absolutely. I don't know whether him getting dropped would have had. I don't think he's that sort of character. I think that young guys like that. I just honestly think that I was chatting to Simon about it. I think he's just probably not quite ready. He's only 22, 23.
Yeah, it's very young for spinner.
He needs to go home this summer. I think Jack Leach, it will be #1 spinner for us. We'll only play 1 spinner in England, and Joe Root can bowl a few if needed. We won't play 2 spinners. And so Jack Leach, Don Bess needs to go back to county cricket and bowl 1,000 overs this summer and just keep learning the trade, and he will get better. He certainly showed glimpses that he can bowl well. But yeah, it's just disappointing. The hard work that Stokes, Anderson, and Leach did in the morning session. It was just a bit of a let off, and I kind of think that was a shame. There was obviously quite a close LBW with Rishabh Pant just before tea that goes either way, which might have boosted his confidence a bit. But
which one was that?
It was an umpire's call where it was literally half and half. It was off Pant, hit him on the back leg just before tea.
I'm thinking the one where it went clearly over the stumps. That was no.
Oh no! There was one before tea where if you see it, and it's the way that Rohit Sharma was umpire's call. So I'm not moaning.
Because they also made a point of showing the line where the bails are. I thought that was interesting. I didn't realise that actually it's not the top of the bails or the bail itself. It's actually where the bail sits is where the ball has to be half, and that's because of the sheer fact that the computerisation is not reliable enough to be able to be any more than that. So, look, if that's the rule, that's the rule. I know some people can't believe it. Like I think Graham. Was it Swan? Is it Graham Swan?
Oh no, I'm not moaning about it. I know that's
I'm just it is. Swan was quite. Swan said hitting the stumps and the stumps is out, even if it's top of the ball. He has got a point, but I understand.
I think I think the review system needs to be reviewed. I would probably scrap it to an extent where I would probably get rid of umpire's call, and I'd probably give each side one review. Like Pujara reviewed today, Sharma reviewed today, Bairstow reviewed for England. Root has done before when it's, we want to get rid of the tactical reviews. The review system should be there for Washington Sundar in the last over when he literally was given out and middled it onto his pad. That's what it's there for. With one review, there's no umpire's call, it's missing or not. If you review it and it's missing, you lose reviews and then you can't use it. So it would literally get rid of the tactical review, and it's there for the shocker, if that makes sense. But it generally works pretty well, doesn't it? The review system. The umpiring has been very good in this series. I've thought generally the two on-field umpires have been pretty good.
They've been very good. Yeah, they have. Commendably so. Just quickly, Indian Memes Wala has said that the first so-called road safety series match, World Cup, well, not World Cup, World Series, starts in roughly an hour and a half's time between Indian legends and Bangladeshi legends. I had a look at the Bangladeshi side. I'm not impressed with that side. There's no one in it.
It's difficult because there's not, in terms of caliber of cricket, there's not as many legends as there would be for other sides, is it? So, they've been playing Test cricket, 20, 25 years. So,
why? And I have to ask the obvious question: why there's not an Australian side in there? Because they would have happily come. I'm sure they haven't. They've got a single side there. That's a little bit unusual, because Australia would have enough players that would love to come across for obvious reasons. The connection to India to start with. I guess there's a series at the moment which we should talk about because Australia has levelled it 2-2 now. Aaron Finch got 79 not out.
Yeah.
As I was saying earlier, we did talk. He was out of form. I'll tell you what, he's doing what I thought what he's capable of. I mean, he's not only getting runs at the top of the order, but leading his side back into the series. He's single-handedly taken it by the scruff of his neck. And there was a press release just as we went to air. I just quickly looked at that. He's calm under pressure, and the man is really showing good reason why he should be Test captain for Australia. Different
games.
No,
white wicket, white ball cricket on flat grounds and 2020 cricket is miles apart. You might be right, but I would be staggered if he walks out to toss the coin at the Gabba in that first Test this winter. I'll be amazed. But I could be wrong.
Are you saying that Tim Payne will be the captain?
I don't know who'll be captain. I think there's a lot better chance Tim Payne does it than Aaron Finch. That's for sure.
Well, it'll be between the two of them. Put it that way. I did say that Payne has to relinquish the duties for Aaron Finch to be put in, and that's what the pressure seems to be anyway. But in that match, New Zealand fell apart. They were out for just over 100. It's scratchy head stuff.
It's interesting how momentum and stuff in cricket, Finch hit 26 off the last over, didn't he? It's amazing how little things. And, my slight prediction with, it's not a gospel prediction, but I said that Kyle Jamieson, with the IPL in mind, isn't probably suited to 2020 cricket. And he went for a massive price. In the auction, I think in the 4 matches in the series, he's won for 175 in 4 games, in 4 2020 games. So 16 overs max, won for 175. So a lot of pressure on him to live up to his price tag for the Royal Challengers soon when the IPL starts.
Okay, but at the same time, he got 30 out of 18 balls, so he showed he can bat too. I wouldn't discount him that quickly. I don't think he's Riley.
Pressure, isn't it?
But Riley Meredith, he's
quick, isn't he?
He is quick.
And he's still got that horrible moustache that he was sporting in the Big Bash. He got rid of that.
It should take it rid of. It looks like a scratch to me. It looks terrible.
I'm fairly sure I've seen you sporting a Merv Hughes tash on social media somewhere. Is that right? Have I seen one of those?
Yeah.
The big David Boone.
I actually had a moustache when I was, would you believe, 15, playing rugby league in Australia, and I looked quite mean and older. And I had it from the age of about 15. I'm not joking. 15 until about 23. I had a moustache. I look like. In fact, one of my, I think not my recent passport, one of my older passport photos has me with Mexican-looking moustache. It was quite funny.
Nice.
Yeah, so I had that from 15 to 23, a long time, but then I don't think I had much of those things. But yeah, occasionally I get lazy and I let it grow. All right, let's look at the commentary. I'm just going to just quickly stand up and get something for a moment.
Sandip
Can you
Sarkar
start
saying,
asking questions?
Sandip Sarkar, Chris crying for Pant LBW when decision goes to English way. Then he said, "Good one, bloody British." I don't know if you've clearly not been listening for the whole chat, Sandip, but I haven't moaned about it at all. I said that's the way it goes, and that's cricket. England got 50-50 with Sharma. I haven't moaned at all. So, you know, if you wanted to start from the beginning and listen to what I actually said, then please do. But I haven't moaned at all. You know, that's the way it goes. I actually like the umpires have got a bit of, you know, the Rohit Sharma one went England's way, which in real time looked dead. All I'm saying is that it's amazing what sort of fine margins cricket is, and that's why it's a great sport. But at no point have I moaned about anything today, or taken anything away from Rishabh Pant at all. It was a brilliant knock.
But there's something about the mental state of a player to do what Rishabh Pant did at that stage of the match. Really, he would have understood if he would have clammed up or struggled, because there's a fair bit of pressure on him at that stage at 4 for 80.
It's there are players like that come about, isn't it? There are players that Dhoni was one of them, a brilliant one for India. Stokes is definitely one of them for England, who just seem to, when the pressure is really on, they turn up, and it's a good thing to have.
And they bring people with them too. They bring people with them, because you'd have to argue Washington Sundar 60 was attributable to Pant being able to take him with him, to be honest.
Yeah, I've been a bit of a critic of Pant, not because I don't think he's a good player. I just think that for a guy of that much talent, it sometimes is wasted when he comes in and just has a bit of a slog at it. But today he applied himself. He came in, he had a look, and then timed his aggression to suit the match situation. It was brilliant. They showed a stat that he's been out 5 times in the 90s, or he's got 90 to 99 5 times in his Test career already. And you know, they're the sort of stats that I think Sunil Gavaskar was on commentary, and he said, "Don't throw it away now, Rishabh. You know, get 100. You know, these things is what matters in your career, getting hundreds." And I'm glad he did it. It was a performance that deserved 100, and most likely will win the game.
So he went from 75 or 79 in a hell of a hurry to 101, and realistically, there are not many players that can do that, who can actually continue that barrage of scoring right through the 90s through to 100. He admittedly got out at 100, but I think Adam Gilchrist is one of the batsmen that I can remember doing that.
Oh, there's been a few over the years. You know, you could say Sehwag, Dhoni, Peterson, Gale, Warner, Stokes is probably one of them. You know, there's been plenty of guys in. Jai Surya was another brilliant one.
But keepers I'm talking about, it's really only Dhoni and Gilchrist.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Pryor was pretty good in his day. Boucher was another good one, wasn't he? Yeah. So, I mean, Dhoni and Gilchrist, if I'm being honest, Gilchrist is better for me, considerably better.
Gilchrist is number one, as far as I'm concerned.
You know, Dhoni didn't score an international 100 outside of India, I don't think. So, you know, in terms of an all-round game, Gilchrist was the trendsetter and did it everywhere, really, didn't he? I mean, he had a brilliant side to play in, but so did Dhoni, I guess. So I won't be popular for saying that, but there's no doubt that Gilchrist has to be considered the best wicketkeeper bat.
Yeah, but I think Pant, I know it's early, but I tell you what, we've seen the Australian performance and now this. It's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, you just have to keep backing it up, don't you? He's got a test this year. He's going to play against New Zealand and England over 6 tests in England. We'll see how he goes. I mean, he got 100 in England last time. Admittedly, it was at the Oval, which is probably the best wicket to bat on for the subcontinent guys. But yeah, it'll be a test. You know, it's a completely different game technique-wise. Sunil Gavaskar or Harsha Bogle was calling him to bat at 5 in the test side, and you know, in England or away, so just leave him at 7. You know, he's a keeper. He's not. I don't think he's a top 5 bat. I think he does a job at 6 there in India, but 6 and 7 is where he's going to score his runs, and I don't know why you have to mess around with it.
No, look, it's really. I'm not really concerned that he bats 5, 6, 7 at this point in time. The reality is it was 4 down. When they really needed someone to stand up, he stood up.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
he did
talking
it.
about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. No, brilliant. No, it was a great knock. One of the best knocks, of the last that I've seen, especially against an England side that were up against tails up. So, I mean, the reverse sweep he played off Jimmy Anderson. So people asking in the comments, Deepak Hira, what Jimmy would have thought of that. Jimmy wouldn't have been very impressed. He's not
No.
he's not very happy at the best of times, Mr. Anderson. So no, it was one of those great shots. He looks a bit stupid if he gets out playing it on 89 or whatever it was, but it was a great shot.
Well, I mean, the way UK was significant. It was the first delivery with a new ball, effectively, which, it takes a lot of gut. I mean, I'm not saying this should happen, but Rishabh Pant, he may be a worthy opener to have for the shorter version, the way he plays.
Potentially, India have got so many good players, haven't they? He's
They have
about 3 or 4 in the IPL, isn't he, for Delhi? I think he bats at 4 or 5, doesn't he, to be fair? So I think with players, you just don't need to overcomplicate it sometimes. If he's, I see him being most effective in Test cricket at a 6 or 7. I don't think technically he's sound enough to bat in the top 5. And I'm not taking anything away from him. Same way Gilchrist wasn't necessarily good enough to bat in the top 5. So 6 and 7, leave him there, let him average 45, 50 in Test cricket and play innings like that, leave him to it.
Although Gilchrist did open the batting for many one-day side.
Yeah, but white ball cricket's entirely different. I'm talking purely Test cricket.
And Gaurav Mittal says, Norman, please talk about the possibilities for Team India in the future. Shubman Gill for away tests and Mani Agarwal for home. And the likes of Sundar. And I have to say that Agarwal is someone who is just had a bit of bad luck in terms of his timing of his career, because he's in a pretty stacked side. He should be in that batting lineup. And I'd argue he could well bat where, as you're describing, he could well bat where Punt is now, and have Punt go 1 or 2 down. Don't you think?
Yeah. I think that Gill looks very good. The problem is with India, they've got so many good cricketers that you come in, and Agarwal came in Australia when he had the chance and didn't score any runs. There's a couple of technical flaws that Cummings, Hazelwood, and Stark exploited, and then once you get out, it's hard to get back in, isn't it? And Gill's got the slot at the moment.
Well,
I think
Mittal was actually saying to have Punt as a permanent number 3. Probably not.
No,
with Pujara there.
He won't. He would struggle overseas batting at 3. He's better in coming in 45, 50 overs down when he can be aggressive and sort of show his talent. It's a different game opening the batting. Same way, why is opening batters at the moment such a hard thing to find? Because it's an entirely different game. Looking at Shubman Gill,
I'm always maintaining you need a specialist opener.
Correct. Yeah.
You can't manufacture an opener. It's you're an opener. I actually was an opener in my day. You don't manufacture us. You got to be that ilk. Okay. So India they're 7 for 294, aren't they?
Something like that.
So they've done an incredible job from where they were 4 for 80, 7 for 294. They literally got 3 for 214 for those partnerships, predominantly because of the likes of Punt and Washington Sundar. And Akshar Patel, he's not bad either, is he? He looked pretty. He hit some beautiful drives.
Yeah, they said that he when he got to 22 runs, obviously it's his 3rd test. They said he's happy to get. I think he got to 6 or 3 or something, and they said he's definitely going to be happy now because he now has more test runs than he does test wickets. He's got 22 runs and 22 wickets and 21 runs at the moment in Test cricket. So another comment from, where was it? Vivek Machado. Pant 100 was brilliant. What happened to the England star bowling lineup? Suddenly England looks poor in bowling and batting. I disagree. England were a bowler light, but England bowled very well today. Pant was brilliant, but England were fantastic for those first 2 sessions. England had probably a seamer light, take a Broad or a Wood in there would have probably made a big difference. But I don't think even India will sit there and say that England didn't bowl very well, and it took something very special from Rishabh Pant to take the game away from them. But I think Leach, Anderson, and Stokes were phenomenal today.
The question I know Broad hasn't had a fantastic series, let's be honest. But, and Adam Holyoke always says this, put your best team on the paddock. You could have had, I know you won't agree, you're going to make a comment, but Broad and Anderson together traditionally have been a great pairing.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they're getting older, but this being the last test of the series, you could have afforded to have left Broad in now, come to think of it, because Dominic Best, you can't, we're looking back now rather than forward. Having Broad on the side now would have been a major advantage because he could have.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy hindsight, looking at your backside, basically, aren't you? But I don't know. They made a judgment call based on what they thought, and Best, obviously, they probably didn't think the wicket would seam around so much. It's probably surprised how much it's done for the seamers. So,
well, it's a red ball. I mean, I shouldn't say I'm not trying to be smart about it, but it is a red ball, and it does reverse seam as the innings went on. In particular, Ben Stokes, I thought he was extremely impressive.
To be fair, it wasn't reverse swing. The Sharma one it was normal. It was regulation swing. It wasn't reversing it. They kept the shine. Dan Lawrence is the shine boy in the England side. They've got their theory on. But Jimmy Anderson, the 40th over, was swinging it normally. So it might be because of the stadium, because it's quite a caked in style stadium. There might be some sort of microclimate within the stadium. They talk about that in England, that some stadiums swing more than others because there's some weird microclimate and I think they say at Trent Bridge that they put a new stand in, and that can cause the ball to, I don't know the science or the maths behind it, but it's interesting, and you might find that in India is a good place for seamers to bowl compared to.
Well, the stands, the caked-in style you're talking about, if you really look at the ground very carefully, the distances from the boundaries to the top of the stadium is immense. It's not truly enclosed in the true sense of the word. There's a fair, and that could even create more of a swirling effect because the wind can certainly get in there even more. I would argue that it's deceptive. It's an incredible ground, and you've got to take out to India. They've built a colossus. They certainly have. They've built something very unique. Although Adam keeps stirring me and saying, it's a beautiful stadium. Look, you can't. I mean,
it's great. It's great. It's a master of architect and building, isn't it? It's not. I wouldn't say it's your classic cricket's ground,
no,
but it's a brilliant stadium, isn't it? It's a Gabba MCG style. Where would you rather play Test one-day cricket? You'd want to play it there. Where would you rather play Test cricket? You'd rather play it at Dunedin in New Zealand with the grass banks and the sort of having picnic on the as an aesthetic cricket ground. Those typical English style, New Zealand style grounds are glorious, aren't they? They're fantastic as a spectacle. But no, it's a fantastic stadium, and that full in the IPL final, World Cup final is going to be awesome. That atmosphere is going to be electric.
Could I just say, I'm reminiscing now because I'm a ground fanatic and I'm a bean counter. I think I've worked out that I've been to 244 proper cricket grounds. When I say proper, I mean they've held substantial matches. And my favourites, if you want to know my favourites, Lords is always going to be a favourite because of its history. SCG is certainly going to be a favourite as well. Those two are obvious ones to me. But Cape Town, that venue is an amazing venue. Dharamshala, again, the venue is amazing. They have Himalaya mountains in the background. There too, they're in the Eden Gardens because of its spectacle. It has a lot of history as well. Then, you mentioned Dunedin, but I write Hagley Oval.
There's those New Zealand grounds are just lovely, aren't they? They're not fussed about packing out 45, 50,000. They want 8,000 there. And what's the one down the bottom? Is it Dunedin or is it? Yeah, I think it might be Dunedin. There's a rugby stadium in the background.
It's Dunedin, I think it's Dunedin.
Just lovely, just a glorious looking cricket ground. And that's what I was brought up in England. I played in Australia, and there are some nice grounds. They typically are grounds that share a pitch with an Aussie rules side or a rugby league side in the winter, whereas England, you get your village green with the thatched roof cottage pavilion and little slopes or trees in the outfield, and it's just a different game, isn't it? So it's what you prefer. And the stadium at the Madeira. Is it the Modi Stadium? I can't remember what it's called, but just fantastic, isn't it? It's an architectural masterpiece. But it's a stadium.
Actually, there's one that I want to visit. It's the one in Pakistan that they've recently put together. It has that big white stone backdrop. Have you seen that one?
Yes, I have seen that. Yeah,
that is a friend of mine, Carmel Khan, who he's involved with the company Spartan. He's also involved with Ultimate Cricket Challenge. He's great mates with he's great mates with Tendulkar, Yuvraj Singh, Harbhajan Singh. He went there only recently, being a Pakistani, and he has connections with Imran Khan. He went there and he was just blown away.
Yeah.
Can you just imagine looking up and you see this massive white boulder?
It's fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, it's lovely. There's some cool grounds when you go to Iceland, or some where they just like playing and it's stuff like that. And it's just
Iceland. I went to Iceland 2 years ago. I didn't see any cricket grounds. What was a cricket ground in Iceland?
There are just random places that you see pop up, and you just think that's awesome.
Oh, okay.
What a great spectacle. But no, there's some more. Can people stop copy and pasting questions just because it clogs it up? We'll try and answer questions as much as we can, but
because it actually makes it difficult for us to keep.
If you copy and paste 10 times, then less chance we'll answer.
We may actually ignore it if you do it that many times, because it is ruining it for everybody else. So please don't do that.
Deepak answered the question. I've already answered one of his questions, so I'll get to. Where did he ask?
Actually, I've asked while you're looking, everyone. I want you to. I'm trying to organise with Monty and with Pragyan Oja and a few other people that are over for the so-called Road Safety World Series. I'm trying to get an interview with people while they're over there. In fact, what I'm asking on my community tab or page on my YouTube channel is for people to ask me questions or tell me questions that they would like to ask to some of the people in that series. Now, we do have Tendulkar in that series, and Sehwag, and a number of others. We have Brian Lara, we have Kevin Peterson. We're trying to arrange for Monty to do a roving mic around there, and or Pragyan Oja, see what they can do for us, because a number of the platforms are asking me through my contacts to try and get someone to talk there. And it is interesting, someone from Australia is being asked to get someone from India, in India, to do something for me. I'm very humbled by that, but we do have Monty Panesar there, and Monty's very accommodating. Even Pretty's trying to get something done as well. So if we pull that off, we'll certainly let you know. But what you need to do is, if you go to that community tab or page, I have set up a response that you need to make to ask questions specifically to Tendulkar, Sehwag, anyone on that list that I've got a list of all the teams. Let's see what we can do, because they're a little bit more casual about the media. As you would imagine, being a charity event, they're more likely to be able to come out and respond. So it's an opportunity for us to engage with them. And both Sri Harsha Cricket, which is a major platform, has 360,000 subscribers, and Extra Time with 750,000. Debash, as we know, is from that channel, are also asking me to do this. So, and I'm sure if I talk to Buria, he'll be able to think about it as well. In fact, you got two of his main guests, like we have our guests, Deep Descriptors doing Star Sports, and Pragyan Oja's playing in their tournaments. They're a bit thin on. I've tried, just letting you know, someone else is busy. We would have normally had a packed group, but actually I'm rather pleasantly happy that it's just Chris and I today. Aren't you, Chris? Our numbers are looking pretty good anyways.
And I'm not, obviously it's disappointing for the viewers not to see me get harangued by passionate Indian fellow panelists, but it's the less numbers are good, and it's been a good day's Test cricket. I saw a comment on Twitter that someone said that clearly the pitch, and actually Harshini Inguva has just said comments on the pitch. Someone on Twitter said, clearly the pitch last week wasn't an issue, it was just poor batting. And my comment to that is, if you've watched both Test matches, if you can't tell the difference in pitch and quality of cricket by watching it, then I don't know what to say to you. This pitch has been good. It's been, if you work hard for your runs, you can score runs, as has been shown. Last week in that third Test, the batsman had no chance. There was two players in the match got over 30. The first time in Test history that only two players in a game had scored 30. Only two players have got more than 30. It just wasn't a contest, and if you can't tell the difference between those pitches, then you need to watch more cricket, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty profound. That's true. And look, the disappointment for me, to be honest with you, was when Bairstow and Stokes were going quite well in that first innings. Realistically, that was an opportunity to do a punt and Sundar, wasn't it? And
Absolutely.
they missed it up.
England should have got 300, 330. You know, the reason England are in the pickle in this game and for the series is because of their batting. You know, their bowling has been brilliant this series, really. Maybe the first innings in Chennai, but, you know, take Rohit out, no one else scored any runs. You know, Jack Leach has been brilliant. He's taken 20 wickets. Jimmy Anderson's taken 8 wickets at 13. Ben Stokes has stepped up. So, you know, it's not the bowlers. The bowlers will go home head held high. It's the batters that need to look themselves in the mirror and say, we let the boys down.
It's interesting because Jeetan Patel, the New Zealander, who's the bowler, spin bowling coach for India, for India. Oh no, sorry, for England, I should say, for England. He seems to come out when things aren't doing well. To be honest, he seems to be the one they run to, which is not. I don't know. I would like to have heard James Anderson today, to be honest, or even Ben Stokes. Although Ben Stokes been around a fair bit. Jeetan Patel, they're throwing in a spin bowling coach. Is he there to defend Bess? I don't know why they've got him. I don't think that's. I'll find out more when I listen to it, which will be coming up pretty soon. The reality is, I think the choice of press conference for people that go there, they have to show some pride. I'm not trying to knock England for this, but have they chosen him because of what? It should always be a player, I think. We want to hear from the blokes a little bit on the ground, on the day.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just protect him from the media. You know, I think they get told before the start of play sometimes who's up for media duties, or each player has to have certain media duties. So they're never going to shove Don Bess in who hasn't got any wickets. They're always going to shove someone in who's done well.
Mate. They know that they can get anyone at the last minute.
Yeah, but why would you want to interview Don Bess?
No, I don't mean Don Bess at all. In fact, I wouldn't have interviewed Don. Okay. I would have had James Anderson in there.
Oh yeah, he would. He does a lot of media work. James Anderson. He does a podcast.
That's right. So why would you bring him in?
Well, because they just might not have wanted him to do it. It might have been Ben Stokes. It might have been someone else. You know, he does a lot of media. They all have contractual obligations to do media work when asked, I think. So it's not because he wouldn't have said no. It's just they just didn't ask for him today. So let's answer some more questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Let me scroll up. Vivek Machado. Chris, if India give a lead of more than 150 runs, it's going to be difficult for England to make 300 plus in second innings. Yeah, I'd agree. I think they'll take some kind of confidence that Rishabh Pant can score, you know, that you can score runs and score 100 on that wicket. But, you know, against Axar and Ashwin, it's going to be very difficult. The only way England can win the test is if we can bowl India out quickly tomorrow with a 100-run lead and try and get 250 and defend 150. I think any more than that's going to be too difficult. India have proved that.
Hang on, sorry. You're saying, because India are ahead by virtually 90 at the moment. Okay?
Yeah.
India are ahead by 90. So you would argue that they could probably ink out 120 plus, right?
If England, the only chance England have got is if we bowl India out for 20 more runs in the morning. And try and get 250 to 270 and defend 150. I don't think we can get 350, 400 in third innings. I don't think we're good enough for that. It can happen. You know, I think there are players that can do that, but I just don't see it happening myself.
No. Okay. So the reality is that, I mean, with Sundar, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it would be nice to see. He's on 60. If he could ink out 100.
Yeah, brilliant for him, yeah.
Brilliant.
I don't know how much Test cricket he's going to play. You know, he probably won't play another Test match after tomorrow or the day after for.
So you don't think he could? You don't think he could be placed as a batter?
The problem you've got is that look at Ben Stokes. He came in, started at 6 or 7, and has worked his way up. The problem Sundar's got is that he's not going to be playing enough first-class cricket or Test cricket to have the chance to show that he can bat up the order and move up. You know, Ben Stokes was playing as a specialist 6 or 7 and bowling, and therefore scoring runs in Test cricket to move up, like Callis did. Callis started at 5 or 6, didn't he, and ended up at 3 because sheer weight of runs allowed him to do that. I just don't think, before the Test match in Australia, Washington Sundar hadn't played a first-class game since 2017.
Yeah,
he hadn't played a first-class game in 3 years. So I just don't see him having the opportunity to score enough runs at first-class level to push his way as a batter.
Yeah, but look, clearly Washington Sundar and this particular Axar Patel, for their state sides, are batting up the order. Massive.
So if say Washington Sundar goes to open about 3, you've got to basically skip him ahead of Rahul, Agarwal, Pretty Shaw, Darwan.
Pretty Shaw's in some deep trouble. He's going to find a long way to get back.
Paddycow's coming through. There's loads of guys. What I'm saying is, for him, he'd literally have to jump in front of 5 or 6 players already established top order batters for him to have that chance. Rahul's been sat on the bench.
But nine ten's the law of possession, isn't it?
Absolutely, but he hasn't got the possession at the moment, has he?
Well, he's more in than out.
Yeah, he's coming he came in at a good time to bat today. I know the pressure was on, but it was a 40, 50, 60 overall ball on a wicket that had quietened down a bit and bowlers were tired. So, and bear in mind, the 2 innings before today, he got ducks in both of them. So he's inconsistent so far, and he's got a long way to go before you can start chucking him in at the top of order in a Test match, for sure.
But I believe very strongly is when you bat in a manner where you actually do not only win a match but save a match, that counts well above anything else. Okay, so I'm noticing there's a lot of this. Obviously, this Test match is coming to a crescendo. Let's be honest; it could well be over within a day or so. You would argue. It could well be if England don't bat well in the second innings, it's over pretty quickly. You can't be. You're talking about a total of 250 from England, and with all due respect, they have not done that the entire.
I'm not expecting it. I'm just saying that's the only way England can win. You've got to. We're offering best case scenario, and I said at the start of today, I said if England can get some kind of 150 in front in the 4th innings, it'll be tough for India, but I don't expect it to happen, but I'm just saying that that's the only way I can see England, scrounging a result. But who knows? I mean, at tea time today, 140 for 6, we wouldn't have said Panton will get 100 in the session and India will be 300 for 7 at the close. So it's, this year has chucked out some weird results, but I don't see it happening. I think India will win this Test by 7 or 8 wickets.
But it was a very impressive turnaround. I really had some. Was it 6 for 140? Did you say at tea?
Yeah.
And at that point, you would argue that they looked like the 200 was going to be a pass score, but they've gone well. 7 for 294. You'd argue that 300 looks quite likely. 320 is quite likely. That's quite an impressive result. So, in terms of the match, well, we're going to have our morning session tomorrow. We can talk about some of the aspects of the match. Fitness-wise, there's discussion about Ben Stokes. He's hurt his shoulder. Did you see that through the?
Yeah, I don't know what the consensus will be. He just bowled himself into the ground today, and he took a very good slip catch as well, which you'd expect him to take after bowling a 12-over spell in 36 degrees. To have the concentration to take that catch was great, wasn't it? But I had to sit through Harsha Bogle trying to convince the world that Ravi Ashwin was a better all-rounder than Ben Stokes, and I think Sunil Gavaskar was like, "I'm not having any of it."
Let's work out why he said that.
I think he just said in terms of what do you define as an all-rounder, batting and bowling, and they compared stats, and actually Gautam Gambhir came on at tea in the British tea break over here, and they asked him the same question. Gautam Gambhir just literally went, "Well, it's obviously Ben Stokes, isn't it?" He didn't beat around the bush or anything. And he made the point.
I was so impressed with the bowling today of Ben Stokes, because that short ball that he got, I think he hit Ashwin with a short ball. The delivery
hit Sharma on the badge, didn't he?
Exactly. But what about the delivery that got Coley out? That
Yeah,
was
he's always been that kind of bowler. If you look at his bowling career, he's got a better average than Ishant Sharma in Test cricket. I'm not saying he's a better bowler. I'm not saying that, but he's up there with some pretty good seamers. He's got nearly 170 Test wickets at 31. That's pretty good for a bloke that's a fourth seamer in England. He's a fourth seamer, and he's a game changer.
But as you said, he comes on when you most need him to.
Yeah, he can pull a spell out. He's a big game.
But he was asked today to belt out. How many overs did he bowl then? I think he bowled close to the most, didn't he?
22 overs, 21 and 22 overs, I think.
Which is well above his normal quota for an all-rounder, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And he could easily have bowled more the way he really looked. He's an amazing athlete, and mentally and physically, he's an amazing athlete. The way he looks to me, there's none better. He's going to go. He's probably going to be one of the greats of England if he continues to play like this.
I think he already is on the way there. I think in world cricket at the moment he's the best around. Ashwin maybe comes close in Indian conditions, but it's not close. Purely because and Gautam Gambhir said he doesn't think Ashwin's a genuine all-rounder. He said, for me, a genuine all-rounder is someone that gets in the side as a batter and as a bowler, and he said that Ashwin wouldn't get in as a batter. So, interesting stat today that I saw when Sharma got out, or just before Sharma got out. We've been saying how bad a series Stokes has had, but he's the third leading run scorer in the series. Before Pant got his 100, he was third leading run scorer behind Joe Root and Rohit Sharma. So although he's had a poor series, he's still done okay. He's
okay. I'm by no means not detracting from Ben Stokes at all, but in the first innings, he may still get his opportunity in the second innings. I'll best be careful here, but he had an opportunity in the first innings to actually put a real shake on that innings. He could easily have got a big score.
Yeah,
and he didn't. It may well be that he might come out and do that in the second. He could be I forget, Roots probably reached a peak in his batting this series, and I'm afraid to say that he probably isn't going to be at his peak for this next innings. He's done brilliantly. He's got double centuries by the truckload. He can't sustain that for any series unless you're Bradman. So the reality is that he may not be one they're going to rely on for the second innings. It's going to be someone like Stokes that's going to come to the fore.
I've just got music harmony, and I agree with music harmony a lot. I'm going to completely.
What music harmony on the thing is he?
He said Ravi Jadeja is the best around in Test last 2 to 3 years. Well, you're just wrong. That's just entirely not true. Ben Stokes in his last 20 Test matches averages over 50 with the bat and 25 with the ball. You want to compare stats. You say Jadeja's got a better batting average than him. Well, he hasn't. Jadeja averages 36. Stokes averages 38. Jadeja's got 1 Test 100. Ben Stokes has got 10 Test 100s. It's just wrong to compare. Jadeja doesn't even get inside in England. How can you say he's the best around in the world when Ravi Ashwin will get picked over him when it goes to, surely if he's the best all-round in the world, he gets in the side, no doubt. But, music harmony, you're welcome to compare stats. I'm looking at Jadeja's stats now. Averages 36 in Test cricket with a bat. Ben Stokes averages over 37. So, I'm not having it on that one.
All right. I don't know. I'm looking at a few stats as we're talking here.
How can you say someone's a better batter when he's got 1 Test 100 and the other bloke's got 10?
As in Stokes has got 10, you're saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. I'm not going to get into that more. I believe Stokes certainly is. But I'm looking at when people score their runs, and the reason why Stokes is ahead is because he scores match-winning centuries as well. And
absolutely.
And even though Punt's not an all-rounder, do you ever call a wicket-keeper batsman an all-rounder?
Can be different. I think they're different. I don't think they're out-and-out all-rounders, but I understand the argument for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you'd have to argue that Adam Gilchrist is as close to an all-rounder as you can get.
Absolutely. Yeah, awesome. Set trend. I bet Rishabh Pant grew up watching Adam Gilchrist and Mahendra Singh Dhoni thinking, I want to be like those two.
Yeah. Although, what was the way we coined the phrase? I did some interviews with people like Rishabh Pant. He's not the next Adam Gilchrist. He's the first Rishabh Pant, which is a fair comment.
Yeah,
of course.
But
it's a fair comment.
Yeah, no, and as I said, I like music harmony in our chat, but last 2 to 3 years, Stokes averages 50 with the bat. Jadeja doesn't do that, and Jadeja doesn't get in the side. If Ashwin plays in England or in Australia, Jadeja won't play. So I don't know how you can justify saying if he's the best, then he plays over Ashwin in England, right? Whereas I don't think that'll happen. So I think Jadeja's awesome. Jadeja's a brilliant cricketer.
I'll tell you what, he has taken over a couple hundred wickets and he's scored a truckload of runs and he's feeling amazing.
He's awesome. Jadeja is one of the best cricketers in the world, but we're talking the best all-rounder on the planet.
No, I get that.
He's not there.
I get it. All right, so
I'd have Jadeja in the England side. I'd take him right now over Leach and Bess. He would. He's awesome. But if India are going to play one spinner in England, then you got to drop Ashwin or you got to drop Jadeja.
Yeah.
Don't want to play.
Would you like to have Ashwin on your side?
Personally, if I'm being honest, in England I would pick Jadeja over Ashwin.
I kind of agree with that.
Because they want to play.
Ashwin's got amazing record. We know that. He's got 400 plus wickets. He's a champion in a lot of ways. But he had a bit of a lull about a year ago where, in fact, Nathan Lyon went past him. And Lyon looked like he was going to be the first to 400. Mm-hmm. Sad situation. Lyon's on 399 and Ashwin smashed him. But they shouldn't be compared, the two of them anyway. People do compare them for some reason.
I think in England, I think Jadeja's a better, turns away from the bat, the right-hander, keeps it tight. Ashwin can leak runs sometimes, when it doesn't give him, he didn't play. He's obviously getting better, Ashwin, for sure. But they're going to want to play Hardik because he balances the side as the fourth seamer and bats. Ashwin in India is perfect because you want that third spinner who bats, whereas in England you want the seamer who bats. So Hardik and Pant are going to bat 6 and 7. The spinner will bat 8, and then you've got your three quicks, 9, 10 jack.
So Music Harmony's been told, or he said himself, he's spamming. Have you read his comment since 2016? Did you read that one?
Jadeja would have played pretty much all of those in India. And how many match-winning performances has Jadeja hit with a bat? He's got 1 Test 100. Stokes has got 10. He averages 50 in the last 20 tests.
But I don't know whether you can say 100 to match-winning performance. You can score.
But what are batsmen judged on? Batsmen are judged on hundreds.
I can remember Jadeja winning a match with his bat. I can remember. It wasn't 100 though. It was an important 60, 70, or 80, or whatever it was. So I don't know whether. I'm not
taking away that Jadeja's a fine cricketer, but we're talking the best all-rounder in the world, and he's just not in the same bracket.
Who's your top 5 ever all-rounders?
Ever?
Ever.
In terms of my lifetime or ever?
Or ever's longer than your lifetime.
Well, I mean, you've got to go Sobers and Botham without a doubt, and Callis. They have to be the best 3 comfortably, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't see Sobers at all. I didn't see any of Botham.
I know, but both of them is unbelievable. And Sobers, when he decided to put his gear into second or third gear, he went off. In fact, Sobers scored over 8,000 Test runs. Don't forget, right? 8,000 Test runs. I know Callis has done better. Okay, both of them's kind of in that mode as well. But Sobers scored 8,000 Test runs.
I think Callis set the benchmark and changed sort of the all-rounder mould a little bit. If you look at Sobers, you look at both of them, they tended to be middle order, lower order. They tended to be more bowling all-rounders. Would that be fair? They batted at 6 or 7 or 8 and could whack it and bowl well. Whereas Callis sort of eventually developed into a batting all-rounder and bowl as well. 2 seconds. Cyborg Bizwaz, ask your question again and we'll make sure we answer it for you, because I know you typed and you've been commenting on Twitter today. So Cyborg, ask your question again and we'll answer it for you. But those 3 have to be the best. I don't think anyone else. Imran Khan, obviously brilliant. Kapil Dev. Then you've got your Flintoffs. Well, I'm not comparing anywhere near those guys, but I'm just trying to pick names out of the hat.
Trust me. So Garfield Sobers was never out of first gear, second gear. If he really when he put the throttle down, it was he only really did certain things when he had to. Yeah. I'm not saying that's good or bad, but he was very within himself. But when he went off, I mean, he hit the first 6 sixes and over.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know that happens now, but now you got generally flatter pitches, better.
It doesn't really happen now, does it? It's happened twice in the last 20 years. It was Gibbs, Singh, and Pollard, isn't it? I mean, Yuvraj Singh did it in 2007.
The ground that Pollard played on, the so-called coolest cricket ground, is a tennis court. It's extremely small, extremely small. You can hit a 4 there, because the Sri Lankan girls. I've actually played there, and I've actually been to the ground. It's right next to the airport, and you could literally, it's not big. And yeah, you can't even call those. I mean, they were big sixes, yes, but they were not on a ground that was conducive to being anything other than a boundary. Anyway, so
those three have to be the best three, right? Callis, Botham, and Sobers.
But in order, Sobers there.
Different eras, isn't it? Different. I mean, I'd love to see those guys playing. I mean, in terms of, I'd love to see.
Bradman was the best batsman ever. Okay, there's no doubt about that. Okay, there's no doubt. By a country mile, by an average of 30 or 40 more than anyone else. Sir Garfield Sobers, statistically, but more so his manner, he was the best all-rounder, and will always be the best all-rounder. It's going to be Jack Cullis has great stats to be an all-rounder, no doubt. Both wrenched games from losses like no one else. Ben Stokes is up there. He could well be number 4 on that list.
All I meant by different eras was, I'd love to have seen Sobers and Botham in the IPL or in 2020 cricket or one-day cricket as it is today.
God.
That's what. Or Viv. Imagine Viv in the IPL.
God.
It's just a shame that you've got. Interesting question when you look back over the years at Bradman. With bodyline tour like a Fred Truman, for example. Do you think Bradman would have averaged 100 into Test cricket today? It's such a different technique, such a different game. It's impossible to compare, isn't it?
No, I know he would still be scoring hundreds today.
So you think he's twice as good as Sachin?
Yes.
Yeah, then that's interesting. Would Sachin have averaged all those runs back then? It's different bats, different balls, uncovered pitches. It's a different game, isn't it?
The thing about Don Bradman, which no one ever seems to talk about, is he was technically perfect.
Yeah.
Every ball, not just hit the bat, it was in the middle of the bat. Every ball was practically on the ground. He played pulls and cuts. He was the best puller and cutter ever in the world, because every single one, his feet positioning, his bat positioning, the way he hit the ball, he placed it in the gap, in the middle of the bat, like a metronome. He was the best. There's no doubt about it. There's no a man that gets. Now come on, Chris, forgetting eras, to average 99.9.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not denying that without a doubt.
Actually, I need to put him to another level. He's the best sports person of any sport in the world.
You can't compare. You can't compare sports.
If you speak to Michael Jordan, Jack Nicklaus,
Michael Jordan probably never heard of Don Bradman, so it's impossible.
I'm afraid you're completely wrong. They all know who. Now they're all sporting aficionados. They what's the word? They pour over the stats of world players, world leading sports people. There's not one that won't tell you that his name.
Yeah, but you can't compare between. You've got Michael Phelps has won 28 gold medals in the swimming pool. You just can't. It's such different mental. It's different skills. It's how do you define what's a good sports?
Don't start me on this. This is.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying you can't compare.
Well,
who's
Michael
the
Phelps,
best sportsman.
okay. You look at various other swimmers that have been in the swimming pool. There's been a lot that have done very well as well.
Nothing as good as him.
No, but there's Michael Phelps. What about Spitz?
I'm just saying it's impossible to compare different eras and different sports as a sportsman.
Mark Spitz won everything that he touched in the pool as well. He just chose not to do more of the so-called disciplines. What I'm getting at is Bradman's average, the next average near him is like this, right? In other sports, there's not that disparity. There's a lot of reasons for it.
But that doesn't make him the best sports. It's how do you define? Is it athleticism? Is it fitness? Is it strength? Is it achievement? Is it world titles? Is it?
He was a leader in many sports as well.
Mm-hmm.
He was a professional tennis player if he wished to be. He won tournaments in tennis, in golf, in squash, and all sorts of sports that proves that he has there's no fear that Bradman's not only the best cricketer in the world ever, but he's also the best sports person.
Here's a comment for you, Norman. Audio Guru says Bradman was trash. You were as good as your opposition allowed you to be. It's simple. When you play many different opposition, things get bad easily.
No, he had Harold Larwood, who bowled incredibly short deliveries, and he bowled not one, he bowled an over of short deliveries.
What a series, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was allowed to. They had people on the leg side around him on the bat. If that happened today, you know what? If Jofra Archer would have bowled over of short balls right up the rib cage of every single player and then towards their head, and he put 5 or 6 people around the bat on the leg side, you'd have a lot of wickets. I'm telling you now.
Yeah,
so
but they changed the rules to stop at the body line, didn't they? It was a massive.
So that's the point, though. Even when the rule was existent, he still batted well.
Yeah, he's obviously the best, isn't he? It would have been great if he hadn't messed up his last game, I guess, and got the 4 runs over the line to average 100. But probably more famous that he didn't. That he did only get a duck in his last innings, isn't it? He's probably better well known for not getting the 4 runs he needed. So.
Well, I realised the story about Arthur Morris. I'll tell you the story about Arthur Morris, who's now passed away. He was at the other end of John Bradman, and he got 170 out of that match, and that meant that Australia didn't have to bat the second innings. They won the match in the first innings batting effort, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Arthur Morris was always a bit remorseful because he thought that if he didn't score 170 in that innings, they would have had to bat again, and Bradman would have broken that record. The reality is that Arthur Morris was standing at the other end of it. And Arthur Morris would go to a pub years later, and all these people would be drinking, and they had Arthur Morris standing there, and they go, "Where were you when Brad?" This was the time everybody was alive when that happened. "Where were you when Brad was, had his last innings?" And they go, we're at the local inn somewhere, blah blah blah. And they turned to Arthur, not knowing who he was, and said, "Arthur, where were you?" "I was at the other end," and it floored them. And that was a story that Arthur told me in his lounge room with his wife and my mother. About a year before he passed away. It was the most honourable thing that I ever had to do. I got to sit with Arthur Morris and reminisce. Brilliant man.
More comments. Palfeb B. Ben Stokes is the benchmark for all-round this generation, but with 1000 his average is a mere 37. While Jadeja is single 100 average is 36. Speaks about consistency. Disagree. But Ben Stokes' average is always on the up. I think he started off, he was averaging low 30s, and in the last 2 years he's averaging close to 50. So he will finish his career, his batting will finish over 40, I think. And Cy Christian says, "Please leave it, Norman. Chris won't agree the fact that an Aussie is the greatest batsman."
Who?
So he said that Chris won't agree that the Aussie Bradman is the greatest batsman. I hope your microphone's working, Si, because I've done nothing but agree with Norman that Don Bradman is the greatest ever. All I'm saying is that it's really difficult to compare eras because it is uncovered pitches, body line. But Bradman is without a doubt the greatest batsman of all time and has to be. So please fix your speakers before next episode in case you can't hear properly. I'm feeling quite feisty today, Norman.
Okay, look, it is facts. There's been, and I'm not sure on what platform, but they've actually, the likes of Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, even Babe Ruth, who was around at the time of Bradman, who's given the title of being the best baseball player ever, statistically, they all will say, if you ask, as I said, Michael Jordan, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, if you interviewed them and said who was the best sportsman ever in any genre or any sport, they would say Sir Donald Bradman. Because you know what? You think they don't know him? How could you not know him? Because they are elite sports people, and they would have been in so many conversations about the best in the world. So many conversations. They have been given the advice of Bradman every single time.
No,
in fact, I'd like to see, I haven't done it, we should Google who is the best sports person ever in any code or any sport, and I wonder what name comes up.
I've got an interesting question for you, actually, and for the viewers. I heard about Inzamam ul Haq, so obviously Pakistan, probably the greatest batsman from Pakistan, arguably. He averaged, here's a question I need to work out what the answer is. He averaged over 50 for Pakistan in Test cricket, or he averaged over 50 for Pakistan in Test cricket, but his career average finished under 50. Why? He averaged
Hang on,
50.
so
He averaged 50 in Test cricket for Pakistan, over 50, but his career average in Test cricket was below 50.
because he played a lot of world teams
He
championship.
played one. He played one Test for the World 11 versus rest of the world, and got 1 and 3 or something, and it pulled his Test average under 50.
Well, you would have to, I mean, respectfully say he deserves to have a 50-plus average based on that.
Yeah, little things like that will annoy a batter.
No, it's true. But I mean, I think what I liked about Inzamam al-Haq, and he's actually one of my favourite batters because he seemed to have that ability to bat without. He was very conservative with his batting, meaning he didn't do anything until he had to. But when he did it brilliantly, and he had a great mental state. The man is now fully a devout Muslim. Not that he wasn't before, but now he's fully bearded, caped accordingly. And I've spent time with him. I think I told you I spent time with him in Amritsar about 5 years ago.
Inzamam
al-Haq.
Are you taking inspiration from his physique? Is that what you're currently going for?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Inzamam al-Haq, he was amazing. And when you speak to the man, it's spellbinding to talk to him. He's such an articulate man, such a knowledgeable man. He was with Harbhajan Singh as well. And I mean, Harbhajan Singh's a character, but Inzamam al-Haq, people listen to that man. And I'm not saying he should be the leader of Pakistan because we've got Imran Khan there, but he's a leader of business, he's a leader of industry as well.
Yeah.
Did he captain Pakistan?
Inzi would have captained a lot, yeah, I think so, yeah.
But I don't know how many tests he captained. He wasn't necessarily that long, but a great man, superb man. He's got a lot of respect for me. He's a very eloquently spoken, very intelligent, very learned, very educated, very a life person. He was building several hundred apartments in Amritsar area, and I was there. Consummate, amazing man.
It's interesting, isn't it? A lot of those guys in Pakistan, Imran Khan's running for president, isn't he, or prime minister, isn't he? I'm sure he's.
No, he's not running. He is.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's interesting. Like you would imagine David Warner or Steve Smith becoming prime minister of Australia. It's amazing. Or cricketer. Imagine Glenn McGrath becoming prime minister. Imagine Joe Root becoming prime minister. It just wouldn't happen in a million years, would it?
Okay, this is going to be a very difficult thing for me to say, but we've got some very smart, intelligent cricketers that know their way around a cricket field. Mm-hmm. But other than Stuart Clark, I think he's got a law degree. Australian cricketers are not renowned for being. Simon Kadich has got a fairly good qualification basis behind him, but the rest, they're all fairly average people when it comes to levels of intelligence. You wouldn't trust any of them, but run their own backyard.
That's what I mean. It's amazing how cricket as a cultural thing is seen in such high regard in India, Pakistan. It's, they're seen as that big a status. They have that much influence on the people that they can go into that line of work, isn't it? So.
Yeah. So Nalakshi Sharma said, "I've watched his shows." What was Nalakshi talking about there?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
My question for Indian fans here: there's still a lot of talk about Jadeja. In England, if you pick one spinner, which they will do, they won't pick two spinners. Are you saying that they would all pick Jadeja over Ashwin? Is that what they're saying? Because if you're saying that Jadeja is the best in the world as an all-rounder, then Ashwin has to go, right? If you're picking one, you have to pick Jadeja. You can't say he's the best in the world and then pick Ashwin over him. Does that make sense? So is that what the Indian guys in the chat are saying, is that Jadeja is better than Ashwin? Because that's effectively what they're suggesting, isn't it, Norman? You can't say he's
very hard. I mean, it's very hard. Ashwin bowling-wise should be in the side ahead of.
Then Jadeja's not the best all-rounder, is he? Because Ashwin gets the slot ahead of him.
I still maintain that the likes of Jadeja and/or Washington Sundar will make it as batters at some stage. You watch.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I personally think Jadeja's a better all-round cricketer than Ashwin, without a doubt. I would have Jadeja in my side. I think he's brilliant, especially in England, where you don't have to be that aggressive wicket-taking or off-spinner that Ashwin is in India. In England, it's tie and end up, if you can bowl 15 overs 1 for 40 in a day, in the first innings you've done a good job. Whereas in India you're expected to take 4 or 5 wickets straight away. So without a doubt they'll go with Hardik Pandya, because you need the seaming all rounder. You need that number 6 or 7 who can be the fourth seamer. And then who they're going to pick as their bowlers, I've got no idea, because it will be Bumrah and Ishant, and then you've got to pick, say Hardik plays an Ashwin or Jadeja, you then got to pick one of Umesh, Shami, Siraj, Thakur. You've got to pick one of those 4. So it's going to be interesting to see who they go with. They've got,
India's reaching an absolute peak of available great players. Let's be honest. All right, I've just realised we've gone an hour and 15 minutes. It's just been you and me. It hasn't felt like it, has it, Chris?
No, it's gone well, and we've had some good comments. So I like the debate. It always amuses me when everyone says I'm biased, or and I'm saying what I'm saying.
Chris, would you stop saying that?
No, it's just amusing, right? I just find it odd.
No. But just by saying that, you're only fueling the fire of people saying
That's
it
fine.
to you.
I like the fire. I like the fire.
I mean, I'm really slim and good looking, but everybody seems to think I'm fat. I mean, clearly you need glasses, everyone, and you need, all you're seeing is from here. You don't really know what's going on below me. I mean, I'm svelte. No,
I've got another question for you, Norman, and for the Indian guys. Assuming that, say, India play 2 spinners in England, say they do, Ashwin is 1. Are you saying that they'd drop Axar to play Jadeja after the way that Axar's played this series? Like, what? Imagine if there was a 5th test. Imagine if you're going to Sri Lanka. Imagine they all go and you pick 2 spinners. What do you do?
Hang on, you've said yourself way back that Axar was a like for like replacement.
I agree, but imagine if you played another test match now, would you drop Axar to bring Jadeja in instead of him?
It's not a matter of dropping Axar. It's a matter of that Jadeja's held a position for a long time and done very well at it.
Has Axar got it now? Has Axar got the chair at the moment to? It would be pretty. What I'm saying is, it'd be pretty unfair on Axar if he takes 25 wickets at 8 against England and then gets dropped or left out.
It was 9.44 before this test, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I guess ultimately, if it was going to happen, that Sundar would drop out and Jadeja would come in for Sundar. But my point is, in England, if you've got 2 spinner slots and you've got Axar, Jadeja, and Ashwin available, which 2 do you pick? Axar would go without a doubt, but it's pretty hard on the lad. He's not done anything wrong. He's out-bowled Ashwin, hasn't he, this series?
Well, it's amazing because only a few tests ago, Nadeem was in front of Axar because of circumstances. Well, Axar injured himself with his knee or something. Yeah, and I didn't even know who the hell really he was, and then the reality was he was not only a great bowler, which was a magnificent selection. He also was around 5 years ago in the World Cup. His name was on the team sheet. He actually played.
Yeah,
I don't remember. All right, I'm afraid we're going to have to. We've still got a very. I'm going to look at the figures after this. I actually think we may have smashed even yesterday's. We had some numbers well over 170 at one stage, and that tells me that it's a lot. Anyway, I want to thank you all again, guys, for being patient. Sometimes we start a bit late, and my mother was the reason today. Only 5 or 10 minutes late, but we're going to be coming on deck. We've been as regular as hell, especially Chris and I. The likes of Pretty apart have got things in their life. Pretty's been on morning into night. In fact, she hasn't slept, I believe, for almost 24 hours. Her partner's got an actual law exam. Tom Willis had business commitments, which pulled him. Otherwise, he would have been here. David Gravening's the same. Adam's been on quite a bit already as well. Monty's over in India. So our numbers are still strong. But today was back to the basics of an Aussie and a Pom almost. We won't call it that. We won't call that because it is a review of day 2. But we certainly are. And Aaron Finch for captain. I'm telling you now.
It won't happen.
Why are you so certain?
I just don't see it. I just cannot. I cannot see
a lot of things. You didn't see a lot of things in the series. You didn't see Rohit Sharma scoring 161, did you? So let's just. Okay,
I was closest today on prediction. I said 300 to 350 or 320, I think.
You said 300 to 370. That's not a prediction. That's a population growth.
My first prediction, because I saw someone comment earlier, I said India will be 320 to 350 all out, is what I said, and then I made it. And
you said 300 to 370. That's
I'm closer than anyone else. I'm the closest so far.
Oh,
You said Rohit would be 254 not out.
not necessarily today. I said he would be. So he went very close. He
What do you
scored
think he's
49.
going to do it in the last innings?
He still got 49.
He's not going to have to get 50 in the last innings. England are going to get skittled.
Oh, well. All right, Chris. Thanks for your time. Thanks for everybody's time. We had some great comments. Keep it up. Don't stop. Make sure you view, like, and share the posts. Subscribe. Get others. You've all got WhatsApp groups, guys. Cut and paste the link to this particular YouTube channel and send it to people. That's the way to go. And please help me grow this channel. I want to make it a regular platform. I want to get more and more people on deck. And we've certainly attracted some great people. Deep Descriptor was a great example of that. You know, we've got immense friendships already forged. So, and you'll see Chris in England all too much, I think, which would be great. You're going to be busy, I tell you what, in England. At least you're able, next time around, you'll be able to go to a ground and sit yourself at a ground. You're going to have to buy a tripod.
What we'll do is I can do a I don't know if he's listening or watching, but maybe we'll get JP Bowden and we can on the Vine. I'll set up a little interview on the Vine and I'll show. I could do a guided tour of one of the oldest cricket grounds in England. Just had a new outfield laid. They dug up the whole outfield over the winter, and maybe he can give us a rundown on the middle stump and everything there.
Well, can you bring him on? You want to do it just at the ground? You don't
I could do. I'm sure he would come on. I'm sure he's not. He's never going to be.
Oops, lost you. All right, we've lost Chris there. I might leave it at that, guys. So, again, I want to just personally thank you all. You've been great. We've had immense guests that have come on this platform. Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnek, and I'm very proud of that. Very exhausting. You have to remember that I with Chris has been doing 2, 3, 4, 5 videos a day, either live or recorded. I enjoy it immensely. I do it as a passion. I'm very committed to it, and I'm very grateful for you guys. It's been wonderful. Occasionally might be a little bit late or a bit sloppy, but we're generally always there. And I just hope that you enjoy it immensely. And please do, from the bottom of my heart, enjoy that and actually share it. So this is Norman Kochnek from Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnek. And please stay tuned. There'll be a lot more coming up. Good night, guys.